Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Call of Juarez, Gunslinger, True West difficulty walkthrough. This is chapter 12, Without Forgiveness. Or another way of saying Unforgiven, I believe, keeping up with the references to stellar Western films. And this is another level where you start with the quick shooter, and we're taking on the damn dirty Indians, which is probably a racial slur now I think about it, which is silly because it's almost, part of history, and in every Cowboys and Indians film ever, because it was a way of common folk to say they did not like the enemy. But this is another level where you're taking on the Indians, and there are a couple of tricky sections to it, but for the most, I don't think this is anything too challenging. It's definitely a nice aesthetic. At first I wasn't too sold on the whole crazy cell shading, but I think they made it work. And this is one of those missions that looks really nice because there's lots of foliage, lots of nice textures. It's a nice change of pace to all the drab browns and like yellows and beech woods and stuff like that of the West. And it's bringing in a little colour, getting your spirit back up so that you can go forward and take out these dudes. And I can't remember what point of the story this is, but it looks very reminiscent of levels we've done before, because we've been to campfires before, we've come into areas like this. We're doing another shooting sequence very similar to a section we've done before. Is it a premonition of that moment? I can't remember, because I can't remember the storyline. It's been a while since I captured this. And that is the bane of some of these walkthroughs, because games come along that take priority, like The Last of Us, and I power through those ones and then come back to these projects and can't really remember the motivations for some of the story beats, which usually doesn't really matter as long as I'm telling you good strategy along the lines of stay behind cover, shoot the guy in the face. But the curse of first-person shooters is I can't really divulge any information you don't already know, because we've been playing them so long, and that's pretty much all the market is saturated with. And I still get people to this day on my videos say, like, you should talk about the game. Like, how fucking bad are you that not only are you on a walkthrough video to try and help you past a part of the game, but you're telling the person in the walkthrough video what they should and shouldn't talk about? Like, how does me talking about what's happening right now give you any more strategy about what's happening right now? Like, the only thing I can really say is you have no fear here of being flanked. The reason I know this is because I'm going to stand here for this entire duration and I'm not going to die. You know what I mean? It's kind of that defying its own purpose of this game is not that challenging, thus the walkthrough for this game is probably not going to be that in-depth or detailed, because it just doesn't need to be. This is not one of the stealth walkthroughs where I have to tell you exactly where you need to go, because if you don't, you'll fuck up. Or if there's 5 or 6 different elements that are random that you're watching out for on the cuff, which Call of Juarez is not that. What Call of Juarez is a test of your hand-eye coordination, and that's literally it. Your shooter experience is being drawn upon, and you should have a bedrock of said experience. So once again, I'm going to talk about something different, because today is the day after UFC 162. Silva versus Weidman, and I just finished watching the main event and the entire pay-per-view, and after this commentary session I'm going to be watching the post UFC 162, listening to Dana take questions from the press, listening to the fighters and everything, because I am super curious as to what Anderson Silva's going to say, or as to what Dana White thinks about the entire situation. And when you move up here, by the way, folks, those rocks are going to come tumbling down, so make sure you put yourself away from them or you'll probably die. Because if you haven't seen the pay-per-view, please turn off now, because I don't want to spoil it for you. I've spent the entire day today avoiding checking anything just in case I got the event spoiled. And I'm about to spoil it, so turn it off now. Stop the video. I give you some warning. Stop the video. And it was a shock upset, because Anderson Silva lost. And he lost for a couple of reasons. Mainly because he didn't keep his fucking chin down and his hands up. But this is Anderson Silva. This is essentially Neo from The Matrix. This is the guy who for the last few fights and for the last few years has been almost unstoppable. So much so that his ego is through the roof and his self-belief is like of Bruce Lee proportions. This guy is the Bruce Lee of MMA. He's the Muhammad Ali of MMA. He's this crazy character that's so good, that's been destroying everybody for so long, and nobody could envision him losing. And he stuck his fucking chin out, pretended to be Neo, and got clipped. And he didn't even get clipped by that hard of a shot, because it just goes to show everybody has a chin, and if you hit that button right, you go to sleep. And it's just this really strange moment of, like, what the fuck were you doing, dude? Like, did he take him lightly? Did he just think he was doing his thing? Because Anderson Silva has several different versions of himself. If you've never seen this person fight, just YouTube him and watch his highlights. This guy's a monster when he wants to be. When he doesn't want to be, he can be a clown. When he's not being a clown or being silly or a killer, he's being passive. Like, in certain fights, he's literally gone, not necessarily hard, but he's punished a person, he's showed them up a little bit, and then he's coasted for rounds. And it made Dana White really mad, because this guy's selling pay-per-views and tickets. He wants him to be exciting, and he knows this guy has the potential to be exciting, because he's one of the best fighters in the world. But you never know which Anderson Silva's going to turn up. And today, it seemed like the really cocky, put on a show, out for blood Anderson Silva, because he was doing some good hits. He was being extremely reckless, which he kind of does and gets away with it, and no one's punished it yet. No one understands why no one's punished it until they get in the ring and they get punished. And finally it happened. And it's been going to go this way for a very long time. And he got clipped. And the worst part about it is he got clipped and pretended to be injured, which led to him getting clipped again. Like, there's a part of me that thinks perhaps he was injured. Like, it did take something away from him, that first hit that Wyman clipped him with. Because he pretends and does his little fluttery chicken step, but then he gets another punch, which reels him back again and makes him have to recover even more. Then he gets another one, which puts him on the teetering the edge of balance, and then the last one knocks him out. And it's so strange, because if this had been the Anderson Silva that came out and destroyed Forrest Griffin, or the Anderson Silva that came out and destroyed Stephen Bonner, or the Anderson Silva that came out and destroyed Chael Sonnen after Chael nearly beat him, it might have been a completely different story. But because he decided to do his thing, he lost. And don't get me wrong, I was cheering for Weidman. I was like, fucking knock him out, because I hate it. There's a part of me that loves it for the showmanship aspect, but I hate his lack of respect by doing what he does. It's cool as fuck to watch, and it makes fantastic highlights, but at the end of the day, these are not... There's a piece of material and a bit of padding and tape over a man's knuckles, and these are two dudes who are trained killers who are trying to put the other person out of commission. And we're all human predominantly, even though Roy Nelson tries to show, like Cabbage did in the past, that he's unkillable. You know, it only takes one good touch. It doesn't matter who you are, and it was always going to happen, I guess. And Anderson it's just baffling that he can be so dominant for so long, and then this happens. And then the worst part is, he shows humility, which is good, afterwards, but he doesn't give any kind of explanation. He doesn't do the standard thing of, I got caught. There's none of that humbling modesty there. He just came out, was very civil, said, Weidman's the best, and then mentioned a whole load of shit about not fighting anymore. Like, that it didn't even matter, which I don't know if it's because his ego had just took a massive shotgun blast to the chest. I'm not entirely sure, but it's massive news if you're an MMA fan, and if you do follow UFC. It's so big, it's unbelievable, and I'm stunned. I'm still stunned, because it's such an upset. But at the same time, he's sticking his chin out with his hands down to people who are trained to knock your chin off your neck. It's so strange. And the card itself, if you didn't watch, I'm not going to spoil any of the other fights. The card is good. There's some decent fights on it. I haven't watched the prelims yet. I'm trying to get them currently, because I like watching the prelims. And there's not been a UFC for ages, so I'm trying to savour it, because I do miss it. And I find it so strange. And I do apologise if you have no interest in mixed martial arts or the Ultimate Fighting Championships, but it's the only sport I cover You know, it's the only sport I enjoy these days, and it's just such a big moment because the person who lost today has had this belt for years. He's been, you know, quoted as being the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, the best fighter on the planet. And today he went out in a very showmanship way and lost because of his ego, and because not necessarily of his lack of respect, but for his this belief in himself that he's bigger than he is. And it happened recently, but to a lesser extent, with a guy called Alistair Overeem, who is a K1 champion. This guy's been kickboxing for many years. He's fought in K1, he's fought in Pride, he's fought everywhere. And in Strikeforce, he was the world champion. I mean, there's some, you know, questionable steroid allegations because the guy looks like a fucking horse, but this guy is a lethal machine. And he went in against Fabricio Verdum. Oh no, not Fabricio Verdum, sorry. It was Bigfoot. And he didn't respect him at all. He was mocking him, and then he got knocked the fuck out. And so he should. Because he's a big guy with all this muscle, this questionable muscle at best. And he's going in there with his hands down. His cardio's not great. I don't think it's ever really been that great, especially now he's got all this muscle that needs to be fed with oxygen. And he showed a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy who's probably got a black belt, because they all do, and a guy who's got massive hands and can throw them like a sledgehammer, and then wonders why he gets knocked on his ass. It's just baffling that these people can be so, I don't know, dismissive of people that have trained just as hard as they have, even if they don't have the same reputation or you know, notoriety and experience. It's so interesting to watch. This sequence here, as long as you stay behind these rocks, you will be safe. It's so easy to die because there's a lot of these dudes with the double pistols that are very accurate and very damaging, so take your time, let yourself recuperate, and yeah, keep on doing what you're doing. But just baffling to me, and I'm really excited for this post-fight because I'm going to continue playing a bit of Metro, and then I'm gonna listen to that while I do it. And speaking of Metro, the next walkthrough you're going to be seeing is Metro Last Light. It is going to be a Ranger hardcore difficulty. I think the hardest difficulty is called. It's also going to be a 0 human kill for most of the game except for 2 levels. And I was trying to get the good ending, but I failed the 0 kills and I failed the good ending because there's 2 levels where I had to kill people because there's no way to neutralise them at distance that isn't fatal. And I kept dying, and the game just would not let me do it, because I believe that achievement is intended to be gained on an earlier difficulty, and it was getting fucking obnoxious, so I just decided to scalp it and do it on a different run. So hopefully you'll look forward to that. Should be a fun one. Quite a lot to say in that game as well, because there's quite a lot of strategy to divulge in certain areas, which is always nice. I mean, most of it is just your standard first-person shooting, but some of it is going to be stealth-based, while I'm going to be laying down how things work, and so on and so forth. A little more intensive than this one, where I can talk about anything, because all we're doing here is shooting dudes with guns that we've been shooting dudes with for years. But this is the duel against the final guy. I'm going to leave you to it. Once again, you can be dishonourable if you're just interested in beating the difficulty. You don't have to, you know, do this like a man or anything. There's no rules that say you do. And if you're struggling, I recommend you don't. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.